So the single biggest point of failure in New World to date isn't what social media is reporting on. It's not the population. It's not, the quests. It's not how people are receiving it. It's the one issue that we're going to be talking about in today's video. It's the gold duplication, item duplication problem. In a player-driven economy, sandbox MMORPG, the player economy is the lifeblood of the game. And that currently has been turned off. In fact, Amazon has currently, quote unquote, temporarily disabled all forms of wealth transfer. You can't use the trading post, you can't engage in the game. And if you're like me, as somebody who has been fishing and just pretty much crafting and gathering for my experience of the game, I'm running out of place to store items. So this is a disincentivation, if that's a fake word that I'm making up, but you understand ideally what I'm getting at, to go out and do those kind of activities, because where am I going to put the stuff? And obviously, if we're all doing that right now and there's no trading, what is the economy going to look like when all this returns? Now, hello everyone, welcome back to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian. If you're new around here, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more MMO news, content, opinions, and guides if you're interested, and if you feel like I earn it. It's just an open invitation. I hope that you come check out the other content here on the channel, but today we're talking about the single biggest failure, and I'm going to give you guys what Amazon has said. We'll go through it as we typically do, and we'll discuss, and as always, your thoughts and opinions obviously all welcome in the comments below. But as this is a charged topic, and as we're seeing lots of I guess hotted opinions about New World, just be sure to be respectful in the comments, because you're not going to change anybody's mind with obviously a well sharpened insult into that. However, let's go ahead and explore. Let's get you guys caught up to date, and let's discuss. So they started off this just yesterday, temporarily disabling all forms of wealth transfer. That means if you go to the boards in the game, if you go do any activity that requires transferring money from player to player, that's going to give you a message saying wealth transfer is currently disabled. So they said, hello all, we're aware of a possible gold duplication exploit that has been circling, and we're temporarily disabling all forms of wealth transfer between players, sending currency, guild, treasury, trading post, and player-to-player trading. Any player that has engaged in this sort of exploit will be actioned against. Once the gold duplication exploit has been investigated and we're ready to turn on wealth transfer again, we're going to update this post. Thank you guys for your understanding. Going to go beyond just turning it back on. We're going to talk about what could be done to rectify this problem here in a little bit. They go ahead and continue this on. Thank you guys for bringing the duplication exploit to our attention. Please do not take advantage of this. We will take the gains back and penalize those involved. This is a temporary exploit that only occurs when the economy control is in place, and they are going to correct it. Following it up with, we've identified the exploit and we'll be banning individuals who are using it. And we will also have trades off for tonight as we work to test the fix to the problem. A patch to this issue will be released as soon as possible, and we'll have another update you guys in the morning. And finally, we get our morning update just a little bit ago. Hey everyone, we appreciate the patience while we work through the issues. Our team is currently zeroing in on the fix for the exploits that necessitated turning off the wealth transfer in New World. We are planning to deploy the change as soon as we complete our testing. Please stay tuned for more information. We haven't. Now, I want to jump into the dev tracker here, because essentially you might be thinking, didn't they already have this reported in the open and closed beta? Didn't they have this already reported? And in fact, actually, it was reported in the closed beta, fixed, and then essentially resurfaced. So let's go ahead and explore the thread here. Developer K knew about this glitch in July. Their response. So my question is, what did K mean by this? Does K still work for the company? And can they please give an official response to what eyeball means and how it translates to a ship game with this exploit still easily replicated? So K responds, the dupe issue that we fixed in the closed beta was actually fixed. That's why it actually didn't exist in the open beta. The issue that you're seeing now are a different root cause from the previous alphas and betas, and we are indeed looking into them, and they are actively working on getting them addressed as fast as we can. Continuing on, well, actually, that's the message. Let's see if there's any others. Continuing on, we have a fix that is set for overnight validation testing. If all goes well with testing, we will push the change to the game. Customer support is taking action against players who engage in these exploits. As far as the impact to the economy, our economy team is leading that investigation and will determine any next steps. This is done in the same way in data, but to players, the actions are the same. I understand why this looks like we haven't fixed something when the repo is the same, and that sucks for everyone because it's actually new, but it looks old. And then he responding to another player, I'm referring to the one that Good LA posted on this thread about. So has this been fixed? No. And that's just the story about it. One of the things that I've said across multiple videos, I'm really interested in some of the comments, because it's always interesting to see who pays attention, who doesn't. But one of the things I said is that it's clear to see that a bug, and especially as a software engineer, you can push out code and new bugs can be introduced. In fact, you can go see this across any game in which that you go look at the known issues section. Now, as far as the severity of the bug, that's, kind of where I guess we want to be clear that typically, especially in more stable and, all the current MMOs that have, that are already out there in the market, they're not having big, massive issues like obviously Amazon has. And I classified this one as the biggest major one because it affects absolutely every aspect of the game. So much so that, like I said, I can't really do the thing that I want to do in the game right now, because a big part of that is making money on the economy and playing around in the sandbox that the game offers. But the issue that I usually classify as major is when a bug is fixed and then gets reintroduced. Now, to us as normal players of the game, it looks like the same bug. Now in the back end, probably with their unit testing and more, that the original root cause was resolved and fixed. So essentially, now what you're having is kind of what it would be considered a customer user story. Hey, there's a gold duplication bug. That's our end, to the developer going like, oh, that actually was fixed. This is actually classifying as a different issue. And it's a hard line to walk. Typically you have somebody come in and actually kind of translate that, like, etc. But I appreciate Kay going into the depth, talking about that. Yeah, this was actually fixed, but this is a new issue. It just appears to be the same. So in that regards, tip of the hat to Kay. But the reality is it is the same issue, because people are doing the same thing and duplicating it and wrecking the economy for everybody. Here's the bigger problem out of all this, is that when it comes down to tracking down the loose duplicated gold, it's good that they shut things down, but how do you go and rectify this to players? I think you have to. I think there's got to be some form of restitution applied to the player base, whether that be like free premium currency. I think that would be a really good step. Obviously, you want to look at how that money kind of got circulated in the economy. And let's say you, just as a player, decided to sell ore and somebody bought that with duplicated gold. Are you to be punished? Hopefully not. But in that not being punished, you also had an unfair advantage, because that was just fake money that was just inserted into the world. And so somebody else who was like, well, they didn't buy my ore, why do you now have an advantage over me? Because there's still that competitive PvP side of everything here. So we have to look at all of those scenarios and say, how can it be rectified? And I think essentially, like, outside, and I talked about this in the podcast, outside of a server like rollback, like that, essentially it's become so far from that kind of restore point that essentially it just becomes completely unfair to everybody who's been playing fairly. You end up having kind of a group who, through it taking advantage of these exploits and kind of rubbing it in Amazon's face, kind of daring them. I would think that we would probably see some bans roll out in that case, or at least some temporary bans for those players, and have hopefully that their inventory and all that stuff clawed back. And then essentially, I think you almost kind of have to sit here and say, from an economy perspective, we do recognize like there was some trouble. We're going to go ahead and, just be able to insert X amount of gold to everybody. That's going to cause obviously some inflation, because all of a sudden you're just going to say, hey, everybody's got 5,000 gold or whatever the value is. I also probably think that, hopefully this issue is the only time that we see this issue. They got to really look at protecting the markets and the economies going forward. Otherwise, if we continue to run into this issue, it's going to be a nightmare. Now, I think with logs, the fact that they do have that, they will be able to hopefully track down all of kind of the looseness of the duplication. We've seen it happen with Azoth and all these different things. People kind of interestingly enough, bragging about it on social media, so that to the point where I don't envy the team that's got to go investigate and kind of come up with a plan. But I do think premium currency or some form of like shop item is the appropriate measured response. Were you active? Were you playing, or were you impacted by the chaos of this duplication bug? That would be everybody playing, even if you weren't actively like trying to use the markets during this period. Well, here you go. They've already given out an emote due to the queue time. I think essentially, as I hit the mic with my hand, because I talk with my hands, that essentially that's what we're going to have to see going forward. I was hoping as we dive into it, I'd have better news for you guys today about the state of the economy, but that is the way it is. That's what I wanted to kind of sit down and share with you, and hopefully the devs can get this solved. The concern that I obviously, like I share with other players, is the kind of the daisy chaining of issues. Let's say they solve the economy problem. They can't have other economy problems. Otherwise it becomes just a major, like, okay guys, you tell me when you're ready. But what's the other bug that's going to happen? What new bug it gets introduced that is game changing or game breaking that isn't economy based that happens after this, whatever this round of next updates this week is. So obviously probably pretty frustrating from the devs, obviously pretty frustrating from the player base. But I honestly still have a ton of hope in this game, and I'm going to keep saying that because it's the core of what they've got is really magical, and I'm very excited to see where they go from there. Hopefully you guys got something good out of this video, whether you're informed, whether you're frustrated, or whether you just wanted to hear my thoughts on the subject itself. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your time, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
I just want to say I'm really glad you're feeling better, and I love the videos. Well, I love you too. Michelle? Shoot for the moon, and so even if you fail, you'll reach the stars. Go for the 100K subscribers.